There was a time when British streets smelled of petrol, chip paper, and damp wool coats, when cars weren't just transport but places where families argued, laughed, and planned lives between red traffic lights and seaside car parks. From council estates to B-roads, cutting through market towns, these machines quietly shaped everyday Britain. Some of them have vanished so completely that younger generations barely know they existed. If these memories stir something familiar, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel because the stories behind these cars say far more about Britain than their engines ever did. Number 10. British Leyland. When an industry became a national story. By the mid-1970s, British land had come to symbolize both national pride and industrial decline. Formed in 1968, it absorbed once great names like Austin, Morris, Triumph, and Rover, controlling nearly half of Britain's car production. Walking through any British town in 1975 meant passing Allegros, Marinas, and Princesses, cars often outdated on arrival, plagued by strikes and quality issues, yet people kept buying them. British land employed hundreds of thousands, and purchasing British felt like an act of loyalty. These cars carried the weight of a nation struggling to reconcile wartime victory with peacetime reality. Though many have vanished from roads entirely, they remain powerful symbols, not just of flawed engineering, but of a country trying stubbornly to keep moving forward. In a world that had changed around it, these cars were never just machines. Together they formed the backdrop of everyday British life, carrying families through post-war recovery, social change, economic uncertainty. Number 9. Ford Escort, Britain's invisible icon. When Ford launched the Escort in 1968, it replaced the beloved Anglia with something thoroughly modern and unapologetically ordinary. The Escort asked little of its owner. It started, it ran, it worked. Within months, it was everywhere, outside council houses, in factory car parks, queued at petrol stations during the fuel crisis of 1973. The Escort's genius lay in its variety. Base models carried district nurses and sales reps. RS variants dominated rally stages, winning the RAAC rally in 1971 and 1972. Estate versions hauled ladders, dogs, and family luggage with equal ease. By the late 1970s, the Escort became Britain's best-selling car. Its ubiquity rendered it invisible. Yet inside those unremarkable cabins, lives unfolded. First dates, job interviews, emergency hospital runs. The Escort mattered because it never demanded attention. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nostalgia Rides for more legendary cars. Number 8. Triumph Herald, style, optimism, and a touch of Italy. The Triumph Herald arrived in 1959 wearing its optimism proudly. Styled by Italian designer Giovanni Michelotti, its wraparound bonnet and delicate chrome details suggested continental sophistication rarely seen in British small cars. The Herald's famously tight turning circle became a party trick, allowing drivers to park in spaces others abandoned. But it was the convertible version that captured imaginations. With the roof folded down, even grey British evenings felt momentarily glamorous. Young couples drove to Cotswold pubs, scarves fluttering, pretending drizzle was sunshine. The separate chassis design made repairs easier when rust inevitably arrived, endearing the Herald to home mechanics. Through the 1960s, it symbolized a hopeful Britain, one that believed style and practicality could coexist. By the 1970s, newer designs made it look dated, but loyal owners persisted. The Herald remains a reminder of a gentler, more optimistic era. Number 7. Rover P5 Authority on 4 wheels. While most Britons drove modest saloons, Rover P5 owners inhabited a different Britain altogether. Introduced in 1958, the P5 became the preferred transport of senior civil servants, bank managers, and government ministers. This was not a car that shouted. It whispered confidence. Thick carpets, leather seats, and walnut veneer insulated occupants from the noise and uncertainty outside. Doors closed with a reassuring weight that cheaper cars could not replicate. Police forces adopted them, and Prime Minister Harold Wilson famously favored the P5 over flashier alternatives. By the late 1960s, the P5B with its V8 engine offered effortless cruising along newly built motorways like the M1. As strikes paralyzed industry in the 1970s, Rover owners continued their measured progress. The P5 represented a hierarchical Britain that felt stable, dignified, and increasingly out of step with the times. Number 6. Hillman Imp Ambition Undermined by Reality. The Hillman Imp was meant to be Britain's leap into the future. Launched in 1963, it featured a rear-mounted aluminium engine, independent suspension, and styling that looked genuinely modern beside its rivals. The Roots Group even built a brand new factory in Linwood near Glasgow. Backed by government funding and promises of regional regeneration, on paper, it was revolutionary. In reality, it was troubled from the start. Chronic labor disputes, inexperienced workers, and rushed production led to overheating engines, electrical faults, and water leaks. Early owners became amateur mechanics by necessity. Yet, when an Imp worked properly, it was a joy. Light, nimble, and surprisingly quick, it handled corners with confidence few small British cars could match. Students and young drivers loved them throughout the 1960s and 7 South. The Imp failed commercially, but it left behind a sense of what British engineering might have been had circumstances allowed it. Number 5. Vauxhall Viva Basic Motoring, Hard-Won Freedom. The Vauxhall Viva promised nothing more than transport. Launched in 1963. This General Motors product brought American efficiency to British price points. It was cheap to buy, cheap to run, and easy to fix. Rust appeared early, blooming around wheel arches with alarming enthusiasm, accelerated by British rain and salted winter roads. Yet the VA offered something priceless: freedom. During the 1960s and 7 South, when strikes made buses and trains unreliable, even a basic car meant independence. Families drove from Birmingham to Blackpool without financial catastrophe, boots stuffed with suitcases, children squabbling in the back as Radio 2 played Engelbert Humperdinck. The HB and HC versions traced Britain's slow climb up the social ladder. The Viva disappeared as standards rose, but for many, it was their first taste of owning the road. Number 4. Austin Allegro, Pride, Embarrassment, and Persistence. Few British cars divide opinion. Like the Austin Allegro, launched in 1973 to replace the popular Austin 1800. It arrived at exactly the wrong moment. Strikes, inflation, and declining manufacturing standards haunted British land factories. The Allegro's styling looked awkward. Its famously square quartic steering wheel baffled drivers, and build quality varied wildly. Some joked you could tell which day of the week it was built by how badly the door shut. Yet hundreds of thousands of Britons bought Allegros anyway. Buying British still mattered. Families packed them for caravan holidays to Wales, crawling along the M4 with patience and resignation. The Allegro became a fixture on council estate car parks, its dumpy silhouette reflecting a nation simultaneously proud and embarrassed. It faded away not because people hated it, but because it symbolized an industry losing its way. Number 3. Ford Cortina. Middle England's driveway dream. When the Ford Cortina arrived in 1962, it understood Britain perfectly. It looked American enough to feel aspirational, yet cost less than a year's wages for a factory foreman. Soon it lined the streets of Slowstoke-on-Trent and Stevenage, parked proudly outside newly built semi-detached houses. Fathers drove Cortinas to expanding industrial estates. Mothers used them for weekly supermarket shops, replacing corner stores that had served communities for generations. Inside vinyl seats stuck to sunburnt legs. Radio 1 played Tony Blackburn, and crisp packets gathered beneath the seats after Sunday drives to Brighton or Southend. The Mk2 refined the look in 1966, while the Mark III of the early 1970s adopted sharper, more cynical lines reflecting a harder decade. The Cortina endured oil crisis and economic uncertainty. Its eventual disappearance came quietly as tastes shifted and global competition tightened. Number 2. Morris Minor. Dependability in an uncertain Britain. Launched in 1948, the Morris Minor became the quiet backbone of post-war Britain. It was the car your parents trusted, the one driving instructors insisted upon. The vehicle that taught a generation clutch control on damp suburban roads. Its rounded bodywork looked friendly, reassuring, exactly what a country recovering from war wanted to see. By the 1950s and 60s, Morris Minors were parked outside terrace houses in Leeds, Coventry, and Bristol, engines ticking gently as drivers locked up with shopping bags in hand. The overhead valve engine started reliably on freezing February mornings when newer designs sulked. The steering felt heavy, almost agricultural, but it carried families to polling stations, factory gates, and Sunday visits without drama. By 1971, over 1 million had been built. The Minor never promised excitement. It promised to get you home before the streetlights came on. its disappearance wasn't sudden, just overtaken by modernity. Number 1. Mini Cooper. The small car that put Britain on wheels, the Mini did not arrive politely. It arrived in 1959, born out of crisis. Designed by Alacasiganis in response to fuel shortages following the Suez Crisis. It was brutally practical, just over 10 feet long, front-wheel drive, and affordable at under $600, but what it became went far beyond its dimensions. By the mid-1960s, Minis were everywhere. Outside council estates in Hackney lined up along Brighton's seafronts, squeezed into parking bays never meant for cars at all. Fashion models like Twiggy posed with them. The Beatles ordered theirs in psychedelic colors. The Mini Cooper S embarrassed far more expensive European sports cars by winning the Monte Carlo Rally. In 1964, 1965, and 1967, inside knees hugged dashboards, radios crackled, and families argued their way through everyday life. The Mini didn't just move people. It democratized mobility, quietly flattening old-class boundaries. By 1970, 1 in 10 cars in London was a Mini. Its decline came slowly through corporate mismanagement rather than loss of love. And quiet moments of hope, from crowded council estates to new motorways cutting through green fields. They witnessed arguments, laughter, ambition, and resilience. Each model told a story not of perfection, but of persistence. A nation moving forward even when the road ahead was uncertain. If these stories sparked memories or curiosity about the Britain that shaped them, click now to explore more top list. Videos uncovering forgotten brands, places, and everyday icons from the UK between the 1950s and 1980s. And if you enjoyed the journey, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your own memories or thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again in the next film. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Nostalgia Rides for more legendary cars, forgotten classics, and the real stories behind automotive history.